Here's an email from Robin in Frederica, Delaware. She says, isn't worrying about the deficit now during this economic downturn like worrying about your furniture getting wet while the fire department is putting out the fire in your house? Naphtali.
Well, I mean, it's a good metaphor. A lot of people might think so, and the interesting thing is that sense prevailed for the first couple of years, I guess, year and a half of the recession, and periodically, things would come up in terms of extending unemployment insurance, extending COBRA health benefits, more stimulus spending, and while many Republicans were always opposed to these things, at least if they weren't paid for, they passed, perhaps not easily, but they passed, and now we seem to be at this juncture where the public concern about the deficit and the debt is such that it's overtaking these other concerns.
Who is stoking the fire about the deficit spending? There didn't seem to be that kind of concern under the last administration.
Well, that's true. The people did raise it, but it didn't reach this kind of fever pitch. Obviously,
That's why I'm asking who's stoking the fire.
Well, obviously, this is a big issue with the Tea Party groups. It's one of their, perhaps, central issues is government spending and deficits, but it's spread beyond that. I mean, I think if you ask people, if you look at polls, it is a concern that people have that's right up there. One of the things that's happening is it is spreading to the Democratic Party. Not the whole Democratic Party, but if you have the Republicans voting against virtually anything that the president or the Democratic leadership proposes, and you have these blue dog Democrats, many of them in very tough conservative districts heading toward an election, they have the Democrats couldn't even come up with a budget resolution this year in the House. Traditionally every year there's a budget resolution that passes that goes out 5 years. And this year, because some of the Democrats thought we should be spending more, some thought we should cutting back spending, others just didn't want to put their name to anything that had a deficit on it, and so the Democrats have struggled.
So we come down to politics while people across the country are hurting. Shayla.
And I think that's exactly why people are cynical about Washington, why people are angry with both parties, and why probably more than anything else, worrying about the deficit is about the least productive thing you can do, because as long as I've been in this town, people have been worrying about the deficit in one form or another, Medicare, Social Security, the baby boomers retiring, and yet neither party has shown any ability to get serious and make the really serious decisions that are needed. I mean, we'll see that this week. There's an interesting hearing before the Senate Finance Committee on the expiring tax breaks. It's the door is opening on that debate, and the degree to which both parties are willing to face up to the real deficit problem, which is the big looming deficit problem related to revenue shortfalls.
I think also people are worried about the deficit for a couple of other reasons. There's the example of Greece. People feel like the deficit can get, or the debt can get so large that that someday the U.S. will offer treasuries to be purchased and there won't be buyers, and that would have a catastrophic economic effect. There are a lot of people who believe that would never happen, but this is also wrapped up in the idea that China owns a lot of our debt, and that worries people. I think also people look at the TARP bailout, they look at the various bailouts, and they think, all of this money is being spent, and it ain't going to me. And this is both Republicans and Democrats. In the Missouri Senate race, when the president was just out there, the Republican in that race, Roy Blunt, is getting pounded for his corralling votes to vote for the TARP bill by the Democrat. And so in a lot of ways, it's to everybody's advantage to try and stick their opponent with having added to this.
All right.